So the foie gras sector, I'm gonna start with the basics. It relies on a long production chain, hatching, farming, force feeding, of course, slaughter and processing, and it's dominated by cooperative and industrial groups. And while small-scale farms are becoming increasingly rare in France, because between 2010 and 2020, the number of farms fell by 47% in Nouvelle-Aquitaine, while the average size of farms almost doubled. So it's a very high process of intensification, and this concentration makes the sector extremely vulnerable to health crises, as shown by vaccination campaign financed by public funds, 1990 million euro in 2021, 100 million euro between 2023 and 2024, and 64 million euro in 2025. So there is a real structural fragility of the production system. Can you switch? The analysis is based on a review of administrative documents relating to aid granted between 2022 and 2025 by the department and the Nouvelle-Aquitaine region. So access to this document is a right in France, yet we are facing a large opacity of certain administration, and we are forced to refer the matter to court in France. So we also requested the document at the national level from the Ministry of Agriculture, but here again, a lot of opacity, and we have not received a response, and we will have to take legal action also. Can you swift? Thank you. So building a typology of financial aid came up against two major obstacles for this report. The first one is the heterogeneity of stakeholders and the opacity of long supply chains, which make it very difficult to identify the actual beneficiary of the aid, as well as the absence of breakdowns by production units, which prevents the precise isolation of the share of aid allocated to foie gras in the mixed farming system. So in this context, we identify three broad categories of aid: farming, processing, and the trio, communication, cooperation, and innovation. Can you go to the next one? The analysis of the administrative documents often highlights foie gras sector that is structurally kept on financial life support and was continually dependent on repeated and massive recourse to public aid. So between 2022 and 2025, 30.8 million euro in subsidies was mobilized, nearly 60% of which came from European funds and more than 35% from the region. Only a few countries in Europe are authorized to produce foie gras. This means that some countries that have explicitly banned foie gras production in their borders finance foie gras production in France using public funds from the CAP. And the year 2022 alone accounted for 63% of this amount, and it's reflecting the exceptional support deployed after the avian influenza crisis. And all the information in our report come from administrative documents. So we have not included national data on vaccination, for example, due to the lack of reference of the Ministry of Agriculture. Can you go to the next one? A detailed review of this aid reveal an unbalanced architecture because farm modernization plan alone absorbed more than 7 million, and it's mainly devoted to biosecurity in a context of recurring health crises. So it's very far from reducing vulnerabilities because this investment help maintaining a highly intensive model, and a lot of parameters are in change, like high stocking density, integrated flows, territorial concentration, etc. Can you go on the next one? Thank you. So downstream, long chain processing industries receive the majority of processing heads, and it's consolidating the central position in the value chain, contrary to the heritage-based narrative promoted in public communication. Farm-based workshop and artisanal model account for only 3% of processing heads. And on the next slide, finally, there is aid for communication, innovation, and cooperation, and more than 315,000 euros in 2024 for the promotion of the Southwest label alone. And it's just an example. It's playing a key role in stabilizing the sector's narrative and maintaining a heritage-based image very disconnected from the technical reality, such as confinement, prolonged indoor housing, and industrial standardization, etc. On the next slide, please. Overall, all these data of our report converge toward a clear diagnosis. Public money does not mitigate the fragility of the dominant model. It ensures its continuity. So the sector rely on a recurring support regime, economic, sanitary, and symbolic, and that absorb crises without breaking structural transformation. So ObSAF recommends a profound overhaul of the way public aid is allocated, structured around 4 priorities: transparency, conditionality, transition, and stronger democratic oversight. So the first recommendation is to improving the transparency and the traceability of public heads. We ask to access to administrative documents, and it must be effective in order to allow rigorous monitoring of public action. We also ask that the aid application should include a precise breakdown by production unit, which is essential to isolate the share of funding actually devoted to foie gras or another sector in a mixed farming system. And in addition, cooperative receiving public subsidies should be required to declare annually which farm benefits from them in order to end the opacity currently surrounding the international redistribution. The second recommendation is to make a call for made conditional on clear objective of ecological transition and reduction of animal suffering in the light of European commitments like the Green Deal, the Farm to Fork, the national commitment also in France, like the national low carbon strategy, EGalim, and we also have regional commitments. And because public funding can no longer continue to support an intensive farming model based on force feeding. So we also calls for the immediate regulation of communication financed by public money, and we recommend ending public subsidies intending to promote a project based on a contested practice. The third recommendation is to support farm towards a plant-based transition, because supporting the transition is an essential lever for helping territories and farms to change their production system. So the development of plant-based crop in historically specialized regions, the socio-economic security of farmer, and the adaptation of training scheme are essential to enable variable conversion. And for this objective, the coordinated mobilization of the CAP and the country appear very decisive to finance innovation, support alternative, and guarantee an agroecological transition that preserve incomes and professional pathways. And the last recommendation is to strengthening democratic oversight, because the coherence and credibility of public action require stronger democratic oversight. The lobby activity of the interprofessional organization and its intermediary must be fully declared to the high authority for transparency in public life as required by regulation. And it's actually not how it's done. Giving the structural gap between the promises made by label and the reality of production method in case of prolonged confinement linked to an event crisis, ObSAF consider it's necessary to realign